We have seen earlier when dealing with data that you can split columns into separate data values. So we split out a full name into first name and surname, as that becomes much more useful in data to be able to sort by the different column values. There will be occasions, however, when you need to put them back together. So effectively stick column values together so that they run much more smoothly, rather than looking, as they do here in our employees file, as two separate columns of information. So it may be that we wish to have here a full name column that actually puts their title, first name and surname back together as one whole string. Now we can do that, and it's called concatenation. So if I were to insert a new column here, and let's widen it because it's going to contain some information, and we'll call it full name. Now effectively there are two ways of doing concatenation. One is to use the concatenate function. So that's equals concatenate, and you can see it appears there in the list. Open brackets, and then you select each that you wish to stick together. The title, the first name, and the surname. Close brackets, return, and you can see it does exactly as I've asked it to do, which is to stick together title, the first name, and the surname. However, there are no spaces between. So in my concatenate function, I need to build in the spaces by putting the space as an intermeaning value. So I get B2, concatenate a space, concatenate C2, concatenate another space, concatenate D2, and then return. And that way I get Mrs. space Wendy space Parker. Now alternatively to the concatenate function, I can use the ampersand symbol. So I can say equals, that cell, ampersand. Don't forget your spaces again. So the spaces have to be between speech marks. So Excel knows you mean to physically write a space. Ampersand C3, ampersand, and then another space, so again between speech marks, ampersand the surname. And effectively I get the same result using the ampersand to concatenate cells or text string values, or the concatenate function cell or text string values. Either of those is good to go. Let's take the little fill handle and send this to the bottom. So these now all concatenate the title, space, first name, space, surname, to give me a full name value that I can then use however I wish. Now we can add in further text manipulation other than just concatenating a few column values. It may be, for example, that we only require the person's initial. We can extract the initial from, in this case, C2 by the use of the left function. So in here, instead of accepting the whole of the value of C2, we encompass C2 with the left function, which is left open brackets. The cell that contains the text, we want to take a number of the left values of, comma, and then how many characters? Well, just the first one. So that's 1, and then close brackets. So we're actually embedding the left function within the concatenate function. And when I press return, we find we only have the first character from the left of the first name. So I get Mrs. W. Parker, and I can replicate that to the bottom, and then everybody has their first initial. So that's using the left function. Now there is another function that marries that, really, part of the family, which is the right function, and that's if you want to take a number of characters from the right-hand side of a text string. Quite useful for extracting parts of IDs, for example. We might use the right function with our particular data set, for example, on the telephone number. So if we move across to the telephone number column and insert another column here, and we're only interested in perhaps the last 4 digits, then we can say equals right, open brackets, which cell to work on, that one, comma, how many characters, 4, close brackets, and it will extract the last 4 characters from the telephone number field. So in the case of the first one, that's 5654. And just like all the other functions we've been using, they are relative. So I can just replicate this formula all the way down, and it will pull out the last 4 characters from everybody's telephone number. Now there is one other useful text function. I'm just going to demonstrate here in a new column, and that is one to work out the length of a text column. So how many characters? So we were to say equals len, which is the function for length. Pick on the telephone field again, close the brackets and return. we get told there are 12 characters in that field there. That will include any spaces. And again, it all being relative, double click, takes the formula down, and we can see the length of all the telephone numbers. Now that in itself can be quite useful inside other functions, such as the left or the right, to figure out how many characters we would like to extract. So this is dealing with text values. We can use the concatenate function or the ampersand symbol. Both work as well as each other. The left function for taking a number of characters from the left-hand side of a text string, the right function for taking a number of characters from the right-hand side of a text string, and then the len function for calculating how many characters there are in a text cell.